Welcome to the Tee Off.
Ooh, spill that tea, sis.
This is how we like to start our show off. We like to spill some tea on our favorite athletes and the crazy situations they get themselves into. Look, today we got two people we want to talk about. Now, both on the Houston Rockets, Sterling Brown and Kevin Porter Jr. If you're a frequent listener of the podcast, you've heard us talk about both of these people. Sterling Brown, when he was a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, was brutally attacked by the police and actually received a $750,000 settlement, which literally was just approved today. Not today, but this week on Tuesday. And Kevin Porter Jr., if you're not familiar with some of his most famous quotes, such as modern day slavery, when he was a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers or any other issues that he got into in Cleveland. These are two people that we like to keep track of here in the Fly Route podcast. They're pretty important members of the NBA community. Now, look, this is a little bit serious. I'm not going to lie to you. This happened a week plus now back, where some members of the Houston Rockets decided to go out to a strip club.
Naturally, it's the Houston Rockets.
So, you know, the booty cheek particles
strike again.
They are undefeated, my guy. Undefeated. So they decided to go out. Things get a little bit heated at the strip club late at night. What ends up happening is reportedly a bunch of Houston Rockets players are like, things are getting out of hand. We are about to dip out. They dip. Sterling Brown, Kevin Porter Jr., they're still talking with these men. Group of men decide to jump Sterling Brown. And they jump him. He actually gets beat up really bad. Like, there is video of the police interaction after the assault happened on Sterling Brown, and you can see there's blood all over his body, pouring out of his head. He looks like he's holding what I assume to be a t-shirt on his head to kind of stem some of the bleeding. It is actually quite gruesome. And what ends up happening is Kevin Porter Jr. joins the fray, saves Sterling Brown from his multiple assailants. And I want to say, in a literal sense, people have told sources such as The Athletic that in no short form, Kevin Porter Jr. may have actually saved Sterling Brown's life that night. And seeing the video afterwards, like, I 100% get that. Now, usually, this is where you think the tee-off would focus, right? They in the booty club. Things pop off. Violence happens. But no, that's actually not the good story here. All right? The good story is what happens afterwards. Now, look, we all know about health and safety protocols. I think maybe literally everybody that is a sports fan may be sick and tired of hearing the phrase health and safety protocols after this past year.
Not even a sports fan, just human being. we all took a public health class, by the way, this past year. You just didn't know it.
Now, look, what ends up happening is the NBA decides to fine Kevin Porter Jr. $50,000 for violating the league's health and safety protocols. Why? Because he was at a strip club. The NBA prevents players from joining in social gatherings of 15 or more people, such as bars, clubs, other establishments, etc.
We call those super spreader events down here.
Okay. And he was obviously there. The police were called. He was seen with the police, etc. But that's the funny part. The league chose not to fine Sterling Brown, who was at the same incident, at the same club, on the same team as Kevin Porter Jr.
Now, is it possible that there is footage of Kevin Porter Jr. inside the club and not a Sterling Brown?
No, like, the footage they have is, y'all were in this club. There are police reports of you being in this club because one of you was jumped at this club and the other one of you decided to help him out and basically save your teammate's life. There's evidence now of it. There were other, allegedly other Rockets players were there other Rockets players did not join in the fray, so other Rockets players were not named, fined, etc. So
Man.
Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah, okay, talk.
Hold on. It's all same thing. We keep it here on the tee off. Be careful who you do your dirt with. Don't hang out with homeboys who not gonna jump in when you getting jumped. You can't go out with them no more. They not your friends no more. They teammates. They coworkers. You cool, but keep it moving.
Facts. I actually did not even think about that.
Come on, like you gonna watch your not just probably your friend because you had out the strip club with him. So we cool, but your teammate, your coworker, who if he get hurt, you probably gonna do worse than you already are, and you're gonna watch him get jumped. Like damn, that's ruthless.
It is. And the even more ruthless part is that the NBA fined Kevin Porter Jr. for saving his life.
Being a real one. He got fined for being a real one.
But now this might sound rude. Why Sterling Brown didn't get fined for getting his ass beat?
I'm gonna assume positive intent here. He was being jumped. 1 on 2, 3. That's a
3
hard
plus. Reports are
3
3
plus. That's a hard fight. Now, did he probably run his mouth a little too much, thinking he wasn't gonna get jumped before that? Decent chance. If I was a betting man, I'd bet on that.
The way you hear these things, man, it seems like people out on the streets just love trying athletes.
And they usually get away with it.
Especially in clubs and bars, etc.
Those are the exact dudes who also want to seem like the alpha. And for the most part, athletes have always been the alpha in their kind of circle, their little group of friends. They have their little entourage. They think it's going to protect them. But you go in the club, that's an alpha who likes guns. That's different from you. That's not you. You play football, you play basketball, you do something with a ball for a living. That's not what he do. You don't want to mess with him. Go home. You can make way more money than him, but go home. You don't need to be in the club, especially during COVID. We talked about this enough. Go home. Club is nasty.
Hey,
am I
look,
wrong?
it's open. We open. This is Texas.
Just because it's open don't mean you need to be there.
Look, now this is overall crazy situation. It shows how hypocritical the NBA is willing to be to enforce these health and safety protocols.
It's about image.
It seemed like they thought the PR hit for fining Sterling Brown after unfortunately getting his ass beat would be too bad, but they were willing to take the hit for fining Kevin Porter Jr. for saving Sterling Brown's life. Now, here we are. What ends up happening? He has to miss 3 games because of the COVID protocols. If you don't know, players are docked 1/72nd of their salary, i.e. 1 game check for each game that they miss. So he actually in total ends up being fined $71,000.
For a player like him, that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
I'd want that back. That's a mid-quality Benz. What? I had to think for a second.
No, that and Kevin Porter Jr. has the best response, which is going to get him his second bouquet here, not just for being a real one. It's his second game back. He proceeds to play the 3rd best team in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, drops 50 points and 11 assists. His second game back, dropped a point for every $1,000 that they fined him for.
Now, don't be alarmed if you missed this game. Like many of you, we were watching the NBA draft, or not NBA draft, NFL draft, and we didn't see this, but we were getting tweets. People were like, "Oh, Kevin Porter Jr. is going off." I'm like, "What's going on here? What's going on here?"
James Harden's legacy in Houston is alive and well.
Oh, absolutely. He dropped 50 after getting in trouble at the strip club. He was fighting, like everything.
Look, I'm in love with this story. I'm in love with Kevin Porter Jr.'s hopeful continuing glow up. It seems like the Rockets might be the place for him.
I'm just happy we got a happy tee off.
And that was your tee off.
Ooh, spill that tea, sis. Spill that tea, sis.